what are the top qualities you see in a successful gym owner?
I think you have to be humble because one of my favorite people who's been in the Next Gen Academy has been there for 8 years, and she was there. Cindy, you got to meet her this weekend from Heart of Texas Cheer.
Uh-huh.
She's owned her gym 28 years, and she was in that room learning.
Yes.
I
Yes.
like, she just brings tears to my eyes because 'cause I'm just like, "That lady is so cool, and I
Yeah,
wanna be her. I wanna be her when
absolutely.
I grow up."
Welcome to today's episode of the Here for Cheer podcast. I am your host, Megan Gomarlo, and my guest today is someone that I admire and I'm inspired to do so many great things just by being in her presence. I'm super excited to have her on to talk about her gym and about next generation gym owners. So this is Danielle Johnston. She is one of the owners of the Next Generation Gym Owners. She is also one of the owners of Twister Sports in Warrensburg, Missouri. That gym alone has approximately 650 athletes, and they host around 240 birthday parties a year. If you are a gym owner, you know that that is huge coming from a small town. She offers in her program of Twister Sports, comp cheer, tumbling, hip hop, ninja warrior, gymnastics. She even has indoor batting cages. Her and her husband, Justin, have actually founded 7 businesses since 2013, which is incredible. She's a consultant and helps gyms grow and do some really great things there. She is also the author of the Cheer Gym Owner's Handbook, which every gym owner needs. And she is the host of her own podcast, Full Out Cheer. So Danielle is Superwoman, and she makes it all look real easy, but she is, dedicated to not only running her business really successfully and being an incredible leader, but she is also super dedicated to our industry and helping gym owners. And so, yeah, Danielle, I have so many questions. We have so much to talk about. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was fun to spend time with you last week, and now we get to do it
Yes.
again.
I know. I love it. I love it so much. So, kind of to go back into how I am connected to Danielle is, and I'm so nervous. Like normally I'm not nervous on these because
Oh,
I've interviewed a lot of people and a lot of really incredible people, but Danielle is actually my business coach. So I'm a little nervous here today. I want to make her proud. I want to leave a really good impression on things. But yeah, the way that I connect to Danielle is, when we look at our sport, if you want to get good in tumbling, you're hiring a tumbling coach. If you want to get good at cheerleading, your child is getting a cheerleading coach. Man, all of us that own gyms, we need to want to get good at running our businesses. And that is why we need a coach. We need somebody that can help kind of lead us and guide us and motivate us and help us, make our dreams in our businesses a reality. Like so many gym owners out there, I opened Northern Lights, my gym, 20 years ago because I love cheerleading and I love children. And then, I became an entrepreneur just by default. But when we're put into these roles, gym owners, as our business owners and the leaders of these programs, we need to really make sure that we're doing that as well as we are the cheer part and the tumbling part and the putting the banners on the wall part. So I was lucky enough to attend the Cheer Biz Accelerator that was held right at Danielle's gym in Twister Sports. And it was phenomenal. It was 16 gyms. I walked in and immediately made a cheer bestie. Shout out to my boy Shane. I immediately connected, and I connected with so many gym owners there. So I had connection the minute I walked through the door. Danielle and her team had gone through my business and with a fine comb and a magnifying glass. And they had looked at my staffing, my numbers, my website, my time of responding to emails. I mean, they truly dug deep and in the best way possible, in the scariest make my red face way possible, because, I found out things that some weaknesses and some blind spots. And if you're a great coach, you know that you want in cheer, you know that I want to know the blind spots of my team in basketball and any sport at all. So to be able to look at it from my business was just incredible. I mean, just touring her gym alone and seeing the operations of her staff and her, kind of front of the house and the way that everything was set up. In the first hour, I felt like there was value in my trip. I was like, all right, I'm ready to go home. Like, not that I didn't want to learn more, but that added so much value to me as a gym owner to see the operations of another program. And then I can't give all the secrets away, but the mentorship, the classes, the 50 minutes they spent on a spotlight of my program alone, just looking at where I needed to improve, helping me with the plan for where to start. Gym owners, I know you're with me in this, that I have lists everywhere of dreams, of goals, of things that I want to accomplish. And it's really hard to know where to start. And so, like many of us, when we're overwhelmed, we find other things to do. We're like, ooh, okay, we'll come back to this. I'll work on this or I'll pick up this.
Yeah.
And that was just huge for me. So like my mind was blown. I've come back and I've implemented so many things already in a week's time that are helping my business to run more efficiently, more effectively, to help me be a better leader. And I haven't even had my first one-on-one coaching with Danielle yet. And I know that she's going to continue to help me grow and develop. So let's just start, Danielle, with that. Why did we start this CBA program? Like, what kind of inspired you to do that? And what is your goal with it?
Yeah. So when we were thinking about what are the things that the industry is missing, we have these amazing conferences and there's lots of great opportunities to go learn, but that learning is often like a one-way road, where speakers are getting this information and we're presenting it to you, but we never really have the chance to like, okay, but now let's look at your business and how can this information apply to you and actually benefit you on your scale. We're not looking to make franchises out of anybody. I don't want to have twisters, east and west and all this. I just want to take what we've learned and be able to implement it, and that means that sometimes it needs to be done differently. It needs to be done differently in New Hampshire than it does here in Missouri. And when we were thinking about how do we teach this information but also help people apply it, we thought the best way to do it is to really like dive in, learn about somebody's business, and then take the material and take those like constraints that we see as roadblocks for helping them achieve their goals and take the material and shift it and modify it for their business. So our goal is really to be able to take gym owners and gyms that okay, maybe they know some of the information, but like how maybe they know a lot of information. We had somebody in there who has been in business for 28 years, but like how do you take this and then make it work for your program?
Absolutely. It was incredible. And I mean, just the times that we were able to just ask you questions. There was not only Danielle there was also another gym owner there, Dan Cotton from Oregon Dream Teams. And so we had two, incredible gym owners that have had success. And again, aside, they're great with their cheer program. They're great with their gymnastics. They're winning things, they're doing all that stuff that we all want to do. But that next level of being successful in business, of setting plans, of understanding marketing, of understanding, communication and how the world and the industry is continually moving at such a fast pace. It was like, having a best friend, like just kind of
Yeah.
helping you along the way with things. And it was an incredible, incredible experience. It was so important for me to like peel back the layers and learn how I can improve, to kind of make sure that we're doing things for the business that's going to help us have the dreams that we all have, maybe owning our own building one day or moving into a bigger space and knowing what to do. I mean, I'll admittedly tell you guys that I didn't think I needed a front desk person. In my brain, I was like, oh, they just like welcome people. They're like, and I'm like, our coaches do a great job of that, that we don't have. In 20 years, we haven't had a front desk person doing all the things that would take so much off of my plate. And also the importance that when you walk through the door, that what I learned by visiting your gym, what your front desk person actually does. So, like just alone that, I can't believe I'm embarrassed to be like, ooh, I've never had a front desk person, but we're hiring and we put out that paperwork and we're starting our interviews and I'm so excited. And that alone has been such a big relief for me to like offload some tasks and not onto my coaches who just really want to be good at coaching. And so I want to talk a little bit about, because I know you're huge on this, about the importance of gym owners having systems. And then we can kind of circle back to how the next gen offers all of these systems that I right now am like deep into. But let's talk about the importance of systems for gym owners.
Yeah, so, some of my love of systems came from when I joined the Air Force. I picked this career in hydraulics, and it was aircraft maintenance hydraulics, and if you know me, I didn't even know what tools, like, certain things were called, and the only way I knew how to do anything was because you were trained, but there were also these systems of, like, you're literally gonna take off this bolt, and then you're going to take off this panel, and then you're gonna do this, and when we opened our gym, I thought, this is the only way to operate it. Like, we're gonna need these really specific systems so that things happen up at the front desk and during classes and during team practices. They happen the same way as if I were there. And so when we first opened in 2013, we didn't to be honest, Megan, I didn't have a front desk either. My mother-in-law would come sit up at the front and, she would, like, sell candy bars to kids and, water bottles, and she would write it was almost like calligraphy. She would, like, write in her cursive writing everything that happened, like, "Elena bought water bottle," "Addie got a Snickers bar." And it just kind of made us realize, like, there's so many things that this person could be doing. So when you talk front desk, like, oh, you're speaking to my heart.
Yeah.
Um, but those systems allow you to have the gym run in your absence as if it were running in your presence. And not because you want to step away, but like, my gosh, who hasn't had the flu this year? Who doesn't want to go on vacation? Who wants to close their gym when they go to Summit or All Star Worlds or Worlds for a week? Like, nobody
Yes.
wants to have to close. So now you
Mhm.
can do those things and it will operate as if you were there.
Yeah. And so, kind of aside from, so the Cheer Biz Accelerator is awesome. Like I absolutely recommend that to a gym owner. I mean, like I said, the first hour of being there, I took away so much information and had pages of notes. And I mean, you're allowing us to take pictures, you're allowing us to ask
Mhm,
questions. You had your own front desk people there so that we could
mhm.
ask them their day to day and their tips and their tricks and all this great stuff. So the accelerator, I think, is an incredible opportunity that everybody needs to take part of. But the Next Gen Academy is
Mhm.
also another thing that you offer to gym owners everywhere. And so there at Next Gen Academy, I'm going to let you talk about that in a second, but that's where systems, I can tell you because I'm in it, there are systems so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So let's talk a little bit about what the academy is, and also like why you started that and what it can offer gym owners.
Yeah. So the Next Gen Academy is one on one business coaching, and we can dive deep into your business on calls a couple times a month. We have courses and resources and just so many. It comes with a website. Like, you have a NG Engine, which is like my favorite new thing in the world, where you can like nurture your leads and follow up with people who've inquired about your program and actually get them to become your gym members. Um, and but all of that so, like, the tools, all that stuff is really cool, but having someone who can guide you on how to use those things and what you actually need first, is the most valuable part, because I can go get a great website, but I don't know how to use it, right? If I don't know what should I be putting on my website, how should I be using it? Like, people talk about it as a 24/7 employee who's just gonna sell things for you. All of that's great, but you can have a great website that doesn't do that. If you don't have the business coaching to know what do I need to do on the business end to make those systems work. Um, so what happened was in 2018, um, Justin, who is my husband, he runs the gym with me, but he really isn't the cheer guy. Like, he's the one that when he walks through a practice and like your team might be falling all over the place, he's like, "Good job, girls. I'm so proud of you. That looked great." And you're like, "Okay, Justin, thanks." Um, but he was in ASGA because we liked, like, just being part of the community, and
Yeah.
we were scrolling and, you'd see a post where somebody would say, Like a parent was asking, what all their fees included and they want a breakdown. And what should I do? And a bunch of the comments would say, like, they're not the right person for your program. They shouldn't be questioning you. You don't need to give a breakdown. Nobody gives the breakdown of the cost of milk, or of like a gallon of milk. And like, just all these comments that really went in line with one another. And we sat back and we're like, but wait a minute. I think that's a fair question. What do my fees cover? Do you need to give the dollar by dollar breakdown? Probably not. But like, what do my fees cover is a totally valid question that we ask for our kids when they were in wrestling or football or, all the things.
Yeah.
And so as we sat back, we saw people saying like, kick them out of your gym. They're not going to be the right fit. And Justin just turned to me and he's like, Danielle, there's got to be another option out there. And we'd been studying business for years. We already knew Dan and Shelly and Rihanna. And he's like, I'm gonna call some people and see if we can start something.
I love
And
it.
Justin's the guy who comes up with 25 ideas in a month, and you're like back then, I was just like, "Okay, Justin, whatever you wanna do, throw it at the wall, let's see what sticks."
Yeah.
And that one stuck. Um,
I love it.
yeah, so it very quickly took off, and that was I can't believe it was 8 years ago already, but, like, thousands of gym owners have been trained, and people have
Yeah.
we've had gym owners, like, decide, "Hey, I'm ready to retire," and they were able to sell their gym, not just the equipment piece by piece, but, like, sell their gym, um, or they've been able to pass it off to their kids, and their kids actually have something that they can take a paycheck from day one.
Yes.
And so it's become a really, like, beautiful resource in the industry, um, and on top of
Absolutely.
all that, it's community, just like you said, like, Shane's your bestie, like, your cheer
Yeah.
bestie, like, how cool that you can have a community where when you're like, "Man, I just had, like, a bad day." Like, it was a rough practice. Like, you have somebody who gets it.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree with you. And, ASGA is amazing. It's a really great
Yes,
resource and all those things,
yes.
but there's the answers to the questions are not coming from a business-minded person all the time. So like
Sure.
not all advice is great advice. And I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. And that's what I love about, the community of Next Gen. And again, I've only been in it in a short window of time. And I can already say that just by there's a Facebook group just for gym owners that are a part of your academy. And there
Mhm.
you can see the questions. There's great advice and great insights to their gym and great opportunities to listen to courses and classes and to continue our education. And again, from the most important piece to me is that you are business minded people. So while it's easy from a coach to be like, yeah, this kid's not listening, get him out, or they're giving you a hard time, you're seeing it as that is a customer. And we need to,
Right.
nurture that relationship and continue to gain customers. And that's what we need, gym owners. Like that's what we need. And that's why I feel like what you are doing is so valuable. And I truly don't think enough people even know about what you do. And as you touched on with all of the owners of Next Generation, you're from all over, So
Mhm.
like when you're a part of it, it's not just someone from Missouri. You've got people from East Coast, West Coast, also from Canada. So you have all of these different, really unique insights to businesses. And so I'm a small gym, and I love that you're also like, meaning a small gym community. We're
Yeah.
from a really small town. You and I can relate, and you understand my hardships, but
Yeah.
whereas maybe Dan is in a bigger city and, someone with a bigger program can understand, or a bigger city and a bigger, all those things can relate to that. How did you all become friends? Like, I just have to ask, because you are so
Yeah.
spread out. Like, where did that connection come
Yeah.
from?
We actually all met at a business conference, kind of just like you met Shane and you, like,
Yeah.
immediately became friends. Like, that's exactly what happened with us.
Wow.
Rihanna, like, I she was, like, my cheer bestie for a long time, and it would be like, "Okay, where are you going next? Like, are you gonna be at this
Yeah.
event?" Or, whatever, and while we didn't necessarily compete together, like, it just became this friendship, and same Shelly and Dan have just known each other for years, and then, we knew Shelly, and so it like, by default, you
Yeah.
kinda if you know Shelly, you know Dan and Dan's wife, Tori, and, like, it just kind of became this community, and, it wasn't until we were looking at Next Gen that we were like, "Who are the people when Justin was thinking and he's like, who are the people that know business in cheer? Like that give this good advice. And you're right. Like all of the Facebook groups have so much value in so many ways. I do think there can be value from getting advice from coaches, but I think when there's business questions that are asked, it can be hard sometimes because until you've walked a mile in somebody's shoes, it is just so hard to give that kind of advice. Like, what person who doesn't have kids is giving parenting advice? Like maybe there's some, but it's hard.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so I think there is so much value in just having, the people who I am not year one 25-year-old Danielle because you would be getting much different advice from me.
Yeah.
And we've got some young coaches who are fantastic with little kids and they can relate to so many people in the industry. But they also have proven that they can run their business while they're doing all that. And so they become these great testaments of like what humans are capable of.
And I think we've had, like I said, some really incredible people on the show. And the one common denominator is everybody is willing to continue to learn and hungry to learn and to be around people that are doing things better than themselves. And they're not afraid to ask the questions, to rely on those people. And I think that is the value of Next Generation is that
Mhm.
you are those people. You are those people who have made the mistakes along the way, who have been in business for a long time and looked at it through the lens of an entrepreneur and a business person. And now you can offer that advice and you can offer, the shortcut that you don't have to make your own mistakes, Megan, because I've done it that way. So, I'm going to help guide you so that you don't have the
Right.
same shortcomings that I did. And there's not a lot out there for cheer gym owners. Our business model is very unique. And so I
Yeah.
think you need
Yeah.
that sounding board of people that have the experience within it. Another thing that's in there that I think we've just started to look at, which I love, is that Connect 3. And that is literal. Gym owners, how many of you have spent 3 hours on Canva trying to make flyers or announcements or, your testimonial Tuesday or your throwback Thursday? Me, hours on Canva trying to do all this stuff. There is literally daily posts that you plug in your photo and your logo, and anyone could do it. It doesn't have to be me. It's something now that I can offload to someone else. All the social media work is done. Gym owners, I know you're like me. I have so many gym owner friends, and I'm like random today. Oh, I think I'll post up a picture, and I'm just like only promoting All Star. I was admittedly my mistake. I want to grow our rec program, and I'm like, I just don't get it. Nobody signs up for our rec classes, and nobody is coming to just a tumble class in our gym, and we're trying everything and we're trying to do it right. And first stop when you guys dove into my marketing, you're like, hey, Megan, we're only showing all-star kids. My kid can barely, walk. And you're wanting me to sign them up for a cheer program where you're showing a double full, it just
Yeah.
doesn't align. And so that was huge. And having the marketing right there was so great. I know you're great at marketing. So I would love you to kind of touch point on some of the biggest mistakes. I'm sure that's one of them
Oh
that
yeah.
gym owners are making in marketing. And like how they can kind of start to shift that around.
Yeah. So I think that it's a backwards planning process. You really have to decide what are my goals for this year or this quarter. And as you set forth those goals, that drives the marketing. I think a lot of times we're like, okay, I'm going to post this cool post about All Star, just like you said, or I'm going to
Random.
post about birthday parties or, whatever it is. But like, if my goal this quarter is that I wanna grow my rec program before I start to see the summer drops because you will inevitably, like, everybody lives near a beach or, the mountains or the something. I don't live near either of those. I live near a lake, a giant lake. Um, but everybody has something like that, and so one of the things, let's say this quarter, you wanna try and really, like, increase your rec program because you're gonna have a natural drop off. Well, then if we're gonna increase the rec program, we can do that through a variety of ways, and it's not just marketing, new member special or, tumbling classes now enrolling. It's also through building that engagement of like, "Look what this rec kid is doing. Look what this rec kid just accomplished," and not just skills, but like, "This kid used to be so shy." It's that content marketing. And so once you set that goal, You can, like, build your content calendar and say, "Okay, if rec is one of my focuses, like, I need to post about it probably once a day." Like, that some sort of, like, engagement or content marketing or sales post for rec needs to happen every day, and then you walk through that funnel with blind eyes as if you're a first-time mom or dad, like, clicking on that and say, "Okay, do I have to create an account and fill out a whole bunch of stuff to see the class schedule, or can I, enter a little bit of information, view the class schedule, and make it super easy to register?" And so, like, marketing, we talk about it in terms of social media, but, like, it's a whole package that you really have to put together and evaluate as if you're someone who has not owned a gym ever in your life, and that's the hardest thing for gym owners. And
Absolutely.
yeah, when I did your guys' I actually did all the marketing reviews, social media website reviews. It was
Yeah.
really fun because it was fun to look at what people's goals are and then did their marketing align with what that goal is? And Megan, you are not the only, like, I would say most people,
Yeah.
like, we're just out there, most gym owners don't have a degree in marketing and a degree in accounting and finance and, like, all these things. So we're just out there trying to do what small business does, which is,
Yep.
like, be the best we can at every area.
Absolutely. And I love that I even, to our athletes, because I am passionate about coaching and running teams.
Yeah.
And, there were lots of hard conversations in my spotlight with Dan, that I love how honest he was with me and not just
Mhm.
trying to make me feel good, or, meaning that I'm like, well, I love this and I love going to comps and and he's like, okay, well, you need to align. Do you want to be better at business, or do you want more, banners? And you can have both in a way, but you have to look at this
Mhm.
business piece. And it was like almost like the slap in the face I needed that changed my mindset. And then I love that I can go back to my athletes, because I do love being in front of my kids and say, like, guys, I'm on you to be in extra classes. I'm on you to be doing mindset training. And like, now I'm doing it for me in a way. And you're watching someone that you look up to. I'm now being challenged to find where I'm really good at certain things and I'm really not good at other things. And so I love that we can relate to our athletes. And I think if you're in a leadership role, you owe it to those kids to be showing that you're willing to grow and develop. And so now I have kind of told everybody about my experience with, Next Gen Academy right now and the CBA and how valuable it is. Again, gym owners, if you have questions and want to talk more, let me know, reach out. I will gladly tell you more about my experience. And at the end of our episode, we'll make sure that you can get in connection with Danielle and her team, to kind of get those gears in motion if it's something that you're interested in learning about more from them as well. But now, kind of taking off the next gen hat, I just want to talk about you and your program and your Twisters sports business.
Yeah.
So, when did we open Twister Sports, and what was kind of like the inspiration for that?
Yeah, so I started coaching in 2011. I had just come to Whiteman Air Force Base a few years before that. Well, I had coached, but then I joined the Air Force, and I thought that was probably the end of my coaching time. And in 2011, there was a youth rec program on base, and I had a friend who said, "Hey, do you want to come help me coach?" And the next year, she got orders to Alaska. I'm like, "Well, I didn't want her to move, but this is kind of fun. Like, I
Yeah.
can run my own program." Of course, now she's like retired, and I'm like, "Come move back." Um, and so anyway, I started coaching and I was just doing like rec cheer, and they also had a tumbling program on the base, and I had this little tiny room with like if you think you have short ceilings, I think maybe 12 foot. Like, they were just so short. Um and it was super small, and the parents would sit in the room with you. It was almost like a little dance studio room. And so I coached there for a year, and then I was like, okay, they want me to add another day. And so I hired a second coach, or another coach, because I was like, this will kind of help me be able to like scale it, and I can talk to parents and stuff like that between classes. And I hired the other coach, and she had just got stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base, and she's like, we should do competitive cheer. And I was like, I don't really know what that is, but let's do it. Um, I was only really familiar with game day, like, I really had no idea, and so I went to a bookstore and I found a book about All-Star Cheer, and I read it, and that's how I learned. YouTube
Wow.
just wasn't it didn't feel like there was a lot on YouTube back then, um, and yeah, so I did that, and we eventually just outgrew every room, and I was losing kids. There was a small local gym in town. I would lose kids to them quite often because they, outgrew my ceilings and, what we were able to do in that room. And one day we were sitting and our daughter was taking tumbling with Angie, who ran the tumbling program, who's still 14 years later my business partner.
Aw.
And we were sitting in there and this kid went to do a cartwheel and it like you could feel the wind like graze my face. That's how
Ah,
close the kid's foot was to the parents. And Justin looked at me and he's like, "We should start a gym." And I was like, "I don't want to start a gym, but thank you." Like I like my job in the Air Force. And I was like, "I love coaching, but that's not like a real job." And anyway, uh so he was like, "Okay, okay, then we won't start a gym." And then the next day he came into my office. We worked together. He came into my office and he's like, so I made an appointment to go look at a building for a gym." And
I love it.
next thing you know, so yeah, I asked Angie like a couple days later. I'm like, "Hey, do you want to start a gym together?" And she said no. Um, and so we signed the lease, and then I got a voicemail from her that night, the day we signed the lease that said, "Okay, I changed my mind." And so I said, "Great, I'll meet you at the landlord's
Oh,
office tomorrow. You're going on this lease."
I
And
love it.
yeah, from there we started a gym, and it was
That's so
the
cool.
back like, for people who think they have kind of a wild, like, "Oh, we don't have enough store frontage," and stuff like that, we were literally the back of an old Walmart. Like, we were right by where you stayed, Megan, by, where all the coffee none of that was there, like, no coffee shops,
Yep.
nothing, no cool hotel, but it was, like, the back entrance of an old Walmart with 6 parking spots, and I had to, like, beg the city. I'm like, "No, parents, like, drop off and then leave, like, we don't need parking spots," just
Yeah.
to, like, be allowed to operate there.
Yeah. Wild. And shout out to Justin. Like, I think it's so important that you're touching on the, like, having a great partner in this, to be able to live the crazy and to be able to live, either a coach or a gym owner's life. Yeah, shout out to our partners and to Justin, because I mean, imagine if you guys never did. I wouldn't be getting the help from you right
Yeah.
now either. So very, very
Yeah.
cool. And then you started in 2019 with like only 38 athletes, and that quadrupled to
Y
over 155 in 2025. Now, how did that happen? And what's your advice to gym owners looking to grow from a small
yeah.
number to a larger number?
So cheer was always my passion, but in our area when we opened our gym, so I had kind of had a program since 2011, but when we opened our gym in 2013 and like officially had a facility of our own, I just wanted cheer to grow so badly, and it was my main focus, but rec kids were just coming in the door for tumbling like in by the dozen. And I had a really hard time accepting it for a while. I was like, "I love that these rec kids are here, but I want to do cheer." And it took me probably 6 months to kind of sit back and say, "Okay, I've got to embrace the kids who are coming in the door, and I've got to, like, love rec and invest my time and effort and energy and get that same level of enthusiasm." So, like, I will say for gym owners who are like, "My coaches are not enthusiastic about rec," like, you have to make them enthusiastic about it because it is totally possible. It's still kids. Like, it's still
Yes.
kids who love what we love.
Yes.
They just either haven't gotten the opportunity or maybe they never will, or maybe they don't maybe competition scares them, and that's okay. Um, but so we really embraced rec, and, in 2019, I kinda told Dan and Shelly, like, I knew them since 2014, and for years, I was just like, "Yeah, we're just like, we've got some" I don't know, at the time, we had 28 all-star kids, like, for those years, and I was just like, "Yeah, we've got a couple of teams, but, like, we're heavy in rec and birthday parties and stuff like that." And for years, Shelly was like, "Well, this is what I do to get more kids into All-Star." And I'm like, "Cool, won't work for me. I'm in a town of 20,000 people, and people still think we should use pom-poms."
Yes. Yes.
And I finally, like, swallowed my pride, and I'm like, "I'm just gonna try it." Like, she's saying that this works, and Dan is now saying this works, and, like, I'm just gonna try it. We started a novice program, in 2019, and I only had elite and novice, and so I was like, "Okay, I know there's a gap there, but, like, I can get rec kids into novice and get them to love the sport." And from there, the following year, we started prep teams, and those prep teams eventually grew into elite team. We had elite teams, but, like, it bridged the gap. The biggest issue most gyms have is they don't have that entry level program. They don't have the rec or the rec cheer or rec tumbling or whatever, to go into novice. A lot of people are like, rec tumbling's $80 a month, but all-star cheer is $200 a month. So you just have to pay more than double if you want to go over to cheer.
Yeah.
And that's a hard transition for parents who don't know if their kids are going to love it.
Yes, absolutely. And with those numbers growing, you must have great
Mhm.
retention. How do you have,
Yeah.
such great retention at Twisters?
I will say I don't think it comes by accident. It's very intentional, and we do things every couple months that are very intentional for that purpose. Years ago, I was kind of in the mentality of like, we're going to do everything. Like, I don't need team moms. They just cause problems. Like, I don't need any of that. And I kind of realized, like, going back to my roots, when my kids do things, I want to help. Like, I'm the one that my my daughter started soccer as a freshman in high school, and I always teased her, I'm like, "I'm gonna bring orange slices for your team." She's like, "Oh god, mom, please don't do that." I'm like, "I never got to do that when you were little because you only cheered, like, I wanna be the soccer mom that gets to, like,
Yeah.
take your friends out for ice cream," and, like, it just is a fun mom thing, and I realized probably around 2019 that I had taken all the mom's ability to away to be a mom because I was trying to avoid problems. And so instead of fixing a culture of, of here's how I want parents to act and this is how Twisters is and this is what we accept and this is the culture that we breed. Instead of doing that, I just took away responsibility from parents and I had to kind of give that back with some good boundaries and like reinforce positive culture because I think that's the number one thing that made it grow. Um and then it helped our retention so much when you can make it an experience for the whole family, not just an experience for the athlete.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that. I love that so
So,
much. And now you're busy. You've got a lot of
yeah,
things going on.
yeah,
What is your advice to gym owners to balance that stuff? In terms of setting up boundaries, in terms of scheduling? Because our gym owner's mind, I
yeah,
think, is like bam, 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 bam. We got to get birthdays, and
yeah,
then we got comp next weekend, and now we got to register for
right.
summit and next year's packet, and blah 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 everywhere. Yeah. What is
Yeah,
your advice to kind of balancing that and especially, I
yeah,
love how you touched on boundaries because I think we all struggle with that as gym owners.
totally. Um, I love the idea, like, just, hire people and delegate, but, like, I couldn't do that in 2013. Like, I didn't have the budget to just hire a bunch of people and delegate things over. And so I had to kind of be smart about what I was doing. Anything that can be automated, invest into automating it because, and you can stay organic with your communication, but still automate. We have a weekly email that goes out to all of our competitive parents and athletes, and I duplicate the email and update it once a week. And it's got all the stuff, between now and forever. I actually have the schedule built out until July and it's
Wow.
on there.
That's awesome.
And so that's kind of automatic. Like it took a lot of time one time, and now I just duplicate and update. Um, and then there's some smart things you can do. Like if you have front desk staff and you're like, man, I need people to delegate things to. One, evaluate what they're doing in their time because usually your staff can take on just a little bit more than what they're doing, and a lot of them want to.
Yes.
Um, and then when we delegate as owners, a lot of times we're trying to delegate this one time project. Well, I love that, but why don't you delegate the things that you have to repeat every week? Like those repeatable tasks are the first things to get off your plate because you
Yes.
can systemize them. Somebody else can get in the habit of doing them, they can get good at it. Um, and then when that comes off your plate, like, that doesn't just come off your plate one time, it comes off every week. With your front desk staff, Megan, like, when you get to a point where you're like, "Okay, but I have more that I still wanna delegate," like, instead of front desk staff coming in at 4 or 5, see if that person's available a couple days a week to come in at 2. Those kinda things where you can just make small decisions that take things off your plate until you can afford to make bigger decisions like hiring an office manager or a full-time staff member.
Yes, I love that is such great advice and takeaways that business owners can kind of implement right now. Okay, so when it comes to staffing, because we're kind of leading into
Mhm.
that, what are your
Yeah.
tips, tricks, advice for staffing?
Yeah, I am really big on hiring carefully and slowly. A lot of gym owners are looking to hire that high level tumbling coach or, a cheer coach that has experience because they're like, I just don't have time to train people. Like, unfortunately, your number one job is to train people. Um, you know, I even if somebody comes to me, and we actually talked about this a little bit at, the CBA, like, even if somebody comes to me and they have a ton of experience, I kinda joked to you, I'm like, "If they won worlds with the team last year, I love
Mhm.
that for them."
Yeah.
I think they could be a great asset, but I don't know if they're a good employee yet, and you can be a wonderful coach, but never be on time and call in all the time and, not talk to parents and, like, things like that, and so we hire carefully. 2 people do interviews. We never just have 1. You always have multiple interviews. And then we take that time to train. Like, we onboard them about the systems and culture and processes in the gym, in addition to here's how we coach and here's how you would spot skills and stuff like that. Um, and I think by doing that, 2 things happen. The first is you don't have to hire totally experienced people all the time. You can hire people who love kids and are gonna be great
Yes.
employees.
I love that.
And if I can teach a handspring, I can teach a coach how to teach a handspring. Like, that's not hard. Um, and the second thing that I think it allows you to do is it allows you to build that relationship slowly enough that you can see pretty early on if a staff member is gonna be the right fit for your gym. Just because somebody's a great coach doesn't always mean that they're gonna be the right fit. They also have to really embrace the culture.
Yes, yes. And then I think 2 pieces as a gym owner, I'm always like, "Well, nobody
Mhm.
loves it as much as I do." And,
Yeah.
and that was a hard one for me to, like, look in the mirror and be like, "But they can and they do if I set them up to be
Mhm.
successful." So I
Yep.
think gym owners probably have said that, and so if you're like me, guys, it's not a good enough excuse, like, you can get
Mhm.
people into those places to do those to delegate those roles. And then what's your advice to gym owners about having those tough conversations? Because I think a lot of us
Yeah.
it's a job of heart, like, we love it. We love the people, we love yeah, we a lot of our employees are alumni through our programs, but that does not
Yeah.
mean that they're all a great fit within, like
Right.
you're saying. How do you have the difficult conversations, and what's your advice to gym owners when it comes to that kind of stuff of really being the owner?
Yeah. I think there are times that we have promoted people to a position that they never really wanted. Maybe they thought they wanted it because it was different than what they expected it to be. I talked about this a little bit at the CBA. I've promoted multiple people to all-star director over the years, only to realize, like, they thought they were gonna get to coach as a full-time job, and that's not really what the all-star director does. They do get to coach, but that's not the full-time position. Um, and so, like, really clarifying what a staff member's role should be, like, or what you need it to be, and making sure that person truly buys into that before they take that position. But then also making sure they're the right fit. Because if you have someone who's, that super creative, like lives in the clouds, but like always has great ideas, that person may not be your best office manager.
Yes.
They may be an amazing event coordinator or birthday party guru, but they may not be the best office manager, and a lot of times we just think, "Well, this person's amazing at coaching. They should become a director. They should become a manager," and the skill sets sometimes don't match, and
Yes.
those are often hard conversations when we've already made that decision and we're, 6 months down the road and we recognize that this wasn't the right fit. Those are hard conversations, but a lot of times that staff member knows that that's the case.
Yeah.
And sometimes just being kinda honest and figuring out, like, is this something you want to learn to be good at, or is this something you really weren't signing up for in the first place? I think a lot of times we can come to terms, and it makes both the staff member happier, and it makes the owner either have the open position to hire for that or be able to mentor the staff member.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really, really great advice. And then when it comes to coaching, because I know you're great at coaching as well, what are some of your advice to being a great coach? Especially, I know you're good at the youngers, and I think a lot of
Yeah.
people struggle with the little kids, and it's so
Mhm.
important to our retention because those
Yeah.
minis and tinies will be our program forever. And I think coaches make the mistake of only focusing on the highest level team or the
Right.
most elite kids in your program. But when you're looking at it for like the future of your program, you got these kids for the next, 10 to 15 years, and those kids maybe only a couple years left. So
Right.
how are you so good with these minis? What's your advice to coaches out there with that?
Yeah, so we move coaches around almost every year. Like the coaches who coach well, I say senior 3, but the coaches who coach youth 2 are not the coaches who are coaching youth 2 next year for the most part.
Yeah.
Those who coach so last year, I said for the first year, I'm like, I want to coach mini 1. And literally my coaches looked at me, they're like, you're crazy, you're gonna hate it. And it was tough. Like, it was a tough transition because I had coached the older kids for so long. But it was I'm not supposed to say this. It was one of my favorite teams I've ever coached ever.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
but I also think if I had coached that age when my own kids were that age, it would have been a little hard for me because I needed to be with different kids than who I go home to.
Yes.
And that can
Yes.
be hard for me sometimes when I coach the seniors because
Yeah.
I come home to a senior athlete.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think sometimes we need to get outside of our box a little bit. We need to shift things around. I was just telling a parent last night, I want these athletes to experience a variety of coaching styles before they get to high school. Because if you've had the same coach for 4 and 5 years and then you get to high school and that person is a totally different coaching style, I don't want your kid to think they hate cheer. I want them to realize, like, I just prefer a different coaching style, but I'm capable of cheering for a variety of coaches. Like, I have that experience.
Mic drop. That is so, and even thinking of bigger to college, if you don't have a high school
Yes.
program and kids are just doing all-star with you, I think, yeah, you're doing a disservice if you're not giving them that variety of coaching.
Yeah.
And just touching on minis, I think it's so valuable too for those coaches who have been only with the older kids. It can be like, the kind of monotone. There's something so special about a little kid running
Yeah.
up like, Miss Danielle, I did my forward roll. Watch me, watch me, watch me. And
Yes.
you're like, trying to watch them. And they love cheer. And
Yeah.
that's why we started this stuff. So I think, yeah, it kind of can ignite your fire as a coach,
Yeah.
and remind you of why we do what we do.
Yeah. I have this little game that I play. This year I'm coaching youth too, but I have this little game that I play with mini and youth at this point in the season where it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you one shot at hitting your stunts because we gotta warm them up. But then after that, we're gonna hit them. And if you don't hit them, because I know they can hit them at this point in the season, it's just like, okay, we've got to get focused. We've got to get that muscle memory of like
Yeah.
what you told me to do before winter break. Like I still remember to do it that way.
Yep.
And so this week I've been playing a game. I'm actually really sore right now, Megan, because I've been playing a game with my teams that is if you hit it, I do push-ups.
Oh,
If you don't hit it, you do push-ups.
cute. I love it.
Um and my youth too was like on fire about that this week. And as a result, my quads are on fire because I did squats and I did push-ups and I did all the things. And I'm walking up the stairs today and I'm like, I'm so proud of that youth too, but ouch.
Yeah.
Um, and it just you can kinda turn anything into a fun game for them, and it's not a punishment, now it's just like a game that you're
They love
playing
it.
that conditions
Yeah.
them.
Oh, that's really special. I love it so
Yeah.
much. Okay, let's get in a little bit, because I know you're great at this as well. I mean, you're good at the business, the marketing,
Mhm.
the staffing. I mean, you're really so well versed in all of it. Let's talk a little bit about finance for coaches, because
Yeah,
that's not something that I think everybody loves to talk about, but an important
right.
piece of running and operating a business.
I think knowing your numbers is so important because we tend to we tend to make decisions off feeling if we don't know our numbers. I've had those seasons. I would say it was probably 6 or 7 years ago that I had a probably 4 athletes, I think it was 4, and they left to go to a worlds program up in Kansas City. And I was just, like, devastated. It was 40 years, like, if you combined the amount of years they had all been with us, 40 years worth of Twisters experience that was leaving to go to, another program. And, like, emotionally, that was just so hard, and
Yes.
it felt like my whole program was leaving, even though it was 4 kids.
Yeah.
And so, when you look at the numbers, though, and you're like, "My retention this season was 98%." It's like, "Hold on, that it feels bad, but the numbers tell the real story." Like,
Yes.
I actually had a coach tell me, she's like, "Look at the retention numbers, we're doing a good job. We lost 4 kids." It just feels hard because of, they'd been part of the program for so long.
Yeah.
And so I think it helps us make wise decisions because we're no longer operating off feeling alone.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, that's what I'm learning from you, all about the numbers. And it's so important. And it's really cool. Like once you learn, and that's, I think, the value that you've taught me of like how to track things. Cause like when you're like, what's your numbers? I'm like, I don't even know what you mean by that, but like really I mean, it just opens up a whole new view of All-Star, of tumbling, of every program you're offering, and it's really, really cool. And then you are always forward thinking. I mean, and that's why I think I'm so inspired by you, and you're like a go-getter, you dream big, and then you don't only, put it out in the world, you, like, make it come true. So, in Twisters, it's not just cheer, and, you've got, like,
Right.
batting cages. I mean, that's amazing and so smart. What kind of spearheaded that and how to, like, think outside the box of just All-Star or just tumbling?
A few years ago, gosh, okay, it was 10 years ago now. The time has gone really fast. Um, but I would get these kids who were in All-Star, but they wanted to take the summer and go play softball. Just softball's big here.
Yeah,
And I remember thinking, you know what? I wish I could just keep them and give them the opportunity to do softball here at Twisters. And so, well, that year we were like, well, we're going to start our own softball teams. And so we did. We started 2 softball teams, and
I
our
love it.
girls like wore bows and glitter on their face. It was so funny. But then that kind of inspired us. I was like, wait a minute, but we also would see all these athletes playing softball at the arenas. We would see them and we're like, that kid used to cheer at Twisters, or that kid did tumbling at Twisters. And I realized, like, why not allow them to still be part of the Twisters community doing what they love? And so, yeah, we bought batting cages
I
and
love it.
turned a portion of our building into indoor batting cages. And it is really cool because you still get to see the kids, even if they switch sports, they're
Yeah.
still part of your program. They're just part of it in a different capacity.
Yes. I mean, and that's so just smart and just that's what I mean by, like, you're brilliant. You just see the bigger picture of things in such a really unique, beautiful way. And I'm so inspired by it. And so
Thank
the
you.
building that, I went to visit, huge, amazing, like my dream building. That's not where you were when you first signed your lease, right? When did you purchase your own building?
So we purchased it in 2016. One day I'm going to find those pictures and show them to you, Megan, because it was an old church
Okay.
actually. And it had drop ceilings. And even today, like I kind of love when people say that they love our building because my highest ceiling is 18 feet. And I think it proves that you can still operate. You may have
Yep.
restrictions and things that you don't love about whatever facility you're in, but like, we're good coaches, we're creative, we can make it work. Sometimes we go outside and throw baskets,
Yeah.
or we do a lot of basket drills, and to be honest, we usually get the drivers that we need even with 18 feet. I just tell a choreographer, I'm like, "I'm gonna need, that basket in the center
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise we're gonna hit the ceiling."
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it was an old church, and we had to break down 11 cinder block classrooms by hand with a sledgehammer and a wheelbarrow,
Oh
and
my gosh.
it was so much work, and we're still I think you even got to see the, zombie parts of our building that are not totally done yet.
Yeah.
So it's been a 10-year process of renovating, but when we saw it, we were like, "Okay, I can see the vision. It's gonna be hard, but I can see it, and it's the right, price point, and it's the right fit for us to grow."
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your advice to a gym owner who's kind of maybe there, that's like, we've been
Yeah.
renting for a long time. We're looking to either buy a building or, to do something our own. What's your advice for them?
Yeah, I've actually worked with a ton of people who are looking to purchase their own building. The first one is you have to know your numbers, and your books have to look good. Like, it's not just that we know our numbers and we are going to, like, okay, I make X number of dollars every year in revenue. It's like your revenue has to be a certain amount, but so does your profit. And so if we are doing this as a martyr where we're like, okay, I collect $1,000, I'm just using an easy
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Like I collect $1,000 for All Star, but I spend 999. Like it's going to be really hard to get finance for a building. You
Yes.
have to be okay with profit because that's the risk you took going into business.
Yes.
And like you have to kind of be I'm pretty honest with parents. I'm like, this gym is my life, and if my life were working any other job, I would get paid for it. And not only that, but like anybody else's house that's like on the paperwork to your building and on every loan you have and stuff, it's the risk that you take by being a business owner.
Yes.
But people get so wrapped up in I have to cut my expenses because I want to buy a building. And I've even had someone once who came to me and said, "My accountant said," and they were an academy member, and they're like, "My accountant said I need to cut this expense if I wanna buy a building. And I said, I appreciate that, but an accountant is no business coach. They are very good at accounting. I said, does that accountant realize how much money you've made? You've doubled your revenue in the last year because of your business coach. Does that accountant realize that? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, go back and tell her that. And I think that we have to be careful who we take financial advice from
Yes.
because while our accounts are wonderful, my own accountant, who I refer tons of cheer gyms to, will be very honest. She's not a business coach. She knows the numbers that you give her,
Yes.
not the numbers that you are, she doesn't necessarily know how you got those numbers other than the revenue came in.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, that is really great advice. So while we're talking about, you being such an inspiration, you wrote a book. I mean,
I
like,
did.
wow, what a phenomenal accomplishment that, you should be so proud of. Let's talk about that. What kind of inspired you to want to do that? And then what the book is all about and why it's so valuable.
Yeah, so for years I was writing blogs for Next Gen, and I'm like, I don't really even know if anybody reads blogs anymore, but I should do something with this journalism degree. Um, and it turned out people were like reading the blogs and we would send them out by email. And I would get tons of emails back from people saying, okay, I learned this, or I have a follow-up question. And I was like, the one of the big gaps in the industry was when I wanted to open a cheer gym, all I could find was a book about the history of All Star. I couldn't find anything about how to start a gym. And so, that said, I think people who've owned gyms for a long time can still find so much value because I go
Yes.
through how to set up systems for your gym and how to do marketing for your gym and how to staff it. Um, and so I that came out a couple years ago, the Cheer Gym Owner's Handbook, Your Guide to Running a Successful All-Star Gym. And then actually, Megan, Dan and I are co-authoring a book. We are hoping to have it out by our June conference.
Yes, that is incredible. And are you allowed to tell us what this book is going to be covering or what it's about?
Yes. So this book is actually going to be focused on coaches and the things that coaches need to know to be great employees and coaches in a gym.
I love it.
And so it's something you can actually do with your staff as staff training. You can go through a chapter. It'll have a workbook attached to it so that you can
Yes.
go through it with your staff. And you can do it right when they onboard as like part of their initial education, or you can go through it, every other month with your staff over the course of a year, so that we're training on things other than just skills. Because
Yes.
we all know like the skills are important, and knowing how to do 75,000 drills for a handspring
Yes.
they are important.
Yes.
But also being a good coach and knowing what your role is versus why is the front desk important and why is the social media person important and why is, just those things
I
that
love it.
that make a good coach a great coach.
Oh, I love it. We do a staff retreat. And I mean, gym owners, I highly recommend you do the
Yep.
same where I rent a random Airbnb. It's driving distance from our gym now. And we, matching PJs and we deep dive into areas of the gym. We're making meals together. It's like, we always talk about the kids bonding. It's so important that we as a staff kind of have that great relationship and can bond together. And this sounds like the perfect activity, because I'm always trying to look for different, and I'm pulling it from different sports, different,
Mhm.
like things we can listen to or learn from or grow from a basketball coach. But again, then you're trying to translate it into what we do. So something specific for cheerleading coaches, that is so exciting. And I can't wait to get my hands on one myself. And then in addition to that, you guys were doing the fireside chat, which I think was so
Yeah.
cool, of just getting on and talking about things that are like kind of going on in your gym or hot topics within the industry. But now it feels like that's kind of become your podcast. So can you talk a little bit about your podcast and the information that kind of you're offering gym owners in that way?
Yeah, we started doing Facebook Live videos in like 2018, 2019. They were really popular during COVID because we didn't
Yeah.
have anything else to do. And then they've just sort of continued. And then last year, so that was Justin and I, we had the fireside chat live video. I did convert that to a podcast as our own kids got older. We found that going live was a little bit hard because it was those nights that you have football games or,
Yeah.
late night practices and stuff. And so yeah, switched over to the Full Out Cheer podcast. Justin's on it quite often. But there's also times that I have other guests, and sometimes that I just go on and talk to myself for a
Yeah.
while and hope that everybody else gets something out of it.
No, they do. They're great.
Yeah,
Everything that you're dropping
thanks.
is great. And then even with next gen, we've kind of talked a little bit about Dan, and so now he has a book also
Yes.
that I'd love for you to touch on because I have that one as well, and I can't wait
Yes.
to read both of them. But yeah, can you talk a little bit about Dan's book as well?
Yeah, for sure. So his book is called Charge What You're Worth. And the inspiration behind that book was the fact that there's just nothing in the industry that helps us determine what our price point should be for certain things.
Yep.
And I am guilty of it myself in 2013 when we were like, what should we charge for a birthday party? Someone came to the front desk and they asked, and I was like, I think $80
Yeah,
is the
you just
right
make it up.
price. And
Yes, we're
oh my gosh,
guilty.
I couldn't believe I did that. Because and I was weird about money, and like I had a really hard time because I
Yes,
was like, oh, well, I don't want this person to think it's too expensive.
yes. And
And
you
we
feel
do get these.
bad. That's mine. I'm
Yeah,
like, ooh, I feel bad.
I know.
It's hard. Yes.
Yeah. And so we get these little sigmas about money, and being able to literally calculate, here's what I need to charge to not just break even, but here's what I need to charge to have that profit so that I can buy a building one day, or invest into something is necessary. And we
Yes.
can't look at what someone else is charging because you have no idea what their bills are or what they're
Yes.
paying their staff or their, insurance. Like you just don't know. And so comparing pricing is fine as long as that's not how you're establishing your prices.
Yeah. So and there's a whole calculator. I've
Yes,
got it.
it's
I've got the
great.
spreadsheet ready to go for our next season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really valuable. And then he also does a podcast that's great for
Yeah.
gym owners as well. And what's his podcast? Is it
Yeah, Dan runs the CheerBiz podcast,
perfect?
and he does it twice a week. He releases episodes on Tuesdays and I think Friday or Saturday. And so, yeah, he's got tons of good info on there too. Just a lot of, I love that there's so many great options. This podcast included of like free resources
Yes,
in the cheer industry to become a
absolutely.
better coach or gym owner.
No, I totally agree. And it's kind of like a passion project. I think we can
Yeah.
all relate to that, this sport for you as a business owner, this business has given you so much to be able to give back to other business owners is, something that really gives us joy in that way. And so now you touched a little bit on being a cheer mom yourself. So you're also
Yeah.
a cheer mama and a sports mom.
Yeah.
What's your advice to cheer moms? Like kind of taking off again, the next gen hat, the coach hat of yourself, like just being a mom in this sport.
Yeah.
What's some advice to any mom listening that's made it through this episode of all this business stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, to be a really great cheer mom.
Yeah, I think you have to let your child guide the process like 75% of the way.
Yes.
Um, because right now, my daughter's at a point where she's like, okay, I do want to go to college for cheer,
Yeah.
but there's a couple skills. I think you met her actually. We were talking
Yeah.
about it.
She was so
There's a
sweet.
couple skills that scare her. And I found that pushing her too hard actually keeps her farther from those skills. Um, but finding ways to encourage her to continue pushing without pushing her the wrong direction. And maybe for me that means I'm going to help her find colleges that will match the skill set she has or the skill set we anticipate her having, and that's fine. That's great. I think that that's one of the best things that cheer moms can do. Now, we do have to motivate our kids. If your kid is I've had one or two of those of my own kids over time that just need a little push, or they
Yes.
would be living in my house until they're 30. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's some of that that needs to happen, but we encourage them and we figure out like what is really their passion, and our jobs as moms are just to help get them there.
Yes. Yes. I think that was really, really good stuff. Good advice. And what's next now for, what's some exciting things for next generation? You can talk a little bit about the CBAs and the conferences that you guys do. And then
Yeah.
what's next for you guys personally?
Well, for next gen, we have several CheerBiz accelerators that are coming up this year. The one you actually attended, Megan, sold out in a week. And
Yeah,
so we're
I know
super
why.
excited.
It
Yeah.
is
We're
worth it, gym
super
owners.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We're super excited to just educate the industry, and I getting that one-on-one is just so important. So
Yes.
that's really our focus in 2026 is to meet more gym owners and help more gym owners. We do have our summer conference, which is always huge and it sells out. We're like 40% sold out already, and it's
Wow.
January.
Yeah.
And that is in Nashville in June. So you can definitely check that out. Yeah, we're just man, our mission this year, like we just want to educate gym owners and help them reach their goals.
Yes. And you're doing it. I mean,
So,
and the proof
yeah.
is in the pudding, as they say. Like, you also have, as tracking numbers in your businesses, you can show the results of gyms that have been in the academy and the growth they've had, and the success they've had in that way, which I think is so incredible. So it's not like you're just saying we offer some good stuff, because you do, but you have the
Yeah.
results that are proven. And there's so many
Yeah.
testimonials from gym owners that have worked with you that have seen not only small growth but huge growth, in their
Yeah.
their programs, and in their, not only on that side, but also with their businesses as a whole. And then, yeah, so I love to find out, it's kind of like putting it out in the world, some of your personal goals. I'm assuming
Yeah.
the book is one, getting that out. But what
It
else
is.
is there for even you and your husband who's so involved? Like, what's
Yeah.
next for you guys? What are you excited about?
Yeah, so we do have some big goals with our gym this year. We've got some financial goals that we're really striving to hit,
Love it.
and really involve the community more
Hmm.
in different things at our gym. We get military kids who only get to come around for 2 years or so,
That must be so
and
hard.
oh, it's so hard. And I want them to really feel like they've found a community and a family
Ugh,
here at Twisters. And
love
so
it.
we've partnered with the schools recently
Yeah.
to do a lot of stuff. And by the way, we're not like the school district that you can go pass out flyers. And so it took me 13 years to figure out how to get the schools to partner with me in certain things. And so that's one of our goals with Twisters. Justin and I, we were talking to you about it actually at my house,
Yeah.
the night of the CBA. We've purchased a lot of property lately and a lot of rentals, and I have no desire in life to be a landlord, but he loves it,
Yeah.
and I'm here to 2026 is my year to support him in that dream because
I
he's
love
been
it.
supporting me for so long.
Ugh.
And my youngest child is about to turn 16, and I'm just like, I'm gonna spend the year really embracing the last 2 years that we have with her in the house because I do wanna push forward in business, and I always will, but we've kind of built our staff to a point where they can do so much, and I just have to set a vision and, like, help lead and help them in what they're doing. Um, and I'm just excited to really embrace the last 2 years I have of, like, having kids in the house.
Ugh, yes, I love.
So,
Mm.
I know that's maybe not the business goals that we were
No, but
hoping
that
for.
it's real. It's raw. It's like how we all feel. So many of us are in this with children. I have 4 children of my own, and you're all constantly feeling like
Yeah.
they're sacrificing a lot for wonderful things as well. Like, I don't get me
Yep.
wrong that, like, there's so many
Yep.
benefits to what we do, but they sacrifice a lot as well, and I think that's real. That's honest. I know that's a huge piece of our goals is our family and our kids, and doing the things that you're saying of these systems and knowing your numbers allows you to have that time. And I think
Yes.
that's been what really also has opened my eyes, that you'll find me, I can grind, I can work, I can get up
Yeah.
and I will be working until 9:30 at night when I'm ready to, shut down the laptop and go to bed. So it's so important to those goals and those family goals, those relationship goals that are so important, that we get everything in line in the business so we can do those things and have time.
Yep.
The gift of time is such wealth to me, and
Yeah.
that you're able to say that I can, back off a little bit because I have the right people in place, is, I think,
Yeah.
such a goal that we all have. So okay, this is great. You've had so much great info. Again, you guys, like the next gen, I am such a fan. I'm a newer fan. I had seen what they've been doing. I've been following along. I've been listening to the podcast. I've been doing all those things, but like being able to actually be in it, and I highly encourage you, if you're on the fence, to do one of the CBAs, like, and get into that accelerator. It's one little weekend of your time and you're going to learn so much, and that will show you the value of everything else that they do. But how can gym owners get in touch with you guys? Like, what are those next
Yeah.
steps?
Yeah. So if you're interested in the CheerBiz Accelerator, go to cheerbizaccelerator.com. You can get the dates for our upcoming events, and then you do have to qualify to attend the event. So just enter your info and book a call, and it's just a quick call where we learn a little bit about your business and see if you're at a point that you're ready to grow, and you're ready to kind of reach that next step in your business. And then if that's a great one. It is for gym owners only. The kind of the exception that we give is like, okay, if your sister is going to take over the gym with you one day, or
Right.
your daughter is going to own the gym with you, like definitely that's a good fit. Start getting that education now and grow the program together. But if you're looking for something for coaches to get those coaches trained, and not just in skills, but make them well-rounded coaches, or like Megan front desk, we actually have classes that teach front desk staff how
I
to be
love
great at
this.
front desk,
I love
and
this.
managers. Yeah, our Nashville conference is this summer, and it's at ngconferences.com, or you can find links to all of this at nextgenowners.com. But we've got, you know, uh, so we're about 40% sold out, but there are still seats. We actually have payment plans, so you can start on that now and break it up into 5 payments so that you can afford to take coaches. Because I have been that gym owner that I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is going to be expensive if I take everybody that I want to take. But when we break those up, it just makes it so much more affordable, to budget that in.
Yeah. Good stuff. I love it.
Uh,
And then my last thing, I always kind of like to ask my guests to shout out somebody that you're just proud of,
mm,
you're inspired by, that's just doing something great. It can be in cheer, or, it can be somebody within your cheer gym. It can be a friend out in the industry. But yeah, just give a little shout out to somebody that you're really proud of.
Okay, so I'm going to shout out to Taylor McKegg at Topeka Elite. So you guys may not know her. She was at the Cheerbiz Accelerator, and I've known her for a few years. She's there in Topeka and runs the gym with her sister. And I think she is an up and coming leader in the industry. I
Yeah.
think, Topeka's not really that big. Like, it's big, but it's bigger than us, Megan. It's bigger than where we live. But it's not this huge city, and, like, she runs a phenomenal program, and I know you heard me joke while we were there. I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm against you in Oklahoma this weekend. We're gonna beat you."
Yeah.
Just because how great is it when you can be in this, um, you know, small program, but, like, your program is good, and, like, you're growing and you're running things well. And every time I talk to her, she's working so hard on the right things.
Yes. Yes. Shout out to the girls from Topeka. Really
Yeah.
cool. And then I think to kind of finalize things, what are the qualities? Because, you've worked with so many great gym owners. What are the top qualities you see in a successful gym owner?
I'm actually gonna steal this from, Patrick Lencioni: hungry, humble, and smart.
Yes.
Um, I think you have to be hungry for what's next, and you can't just be hungry for the win. I love to win.
Yeah.
I wanna win. We're
Yes.
competing this weekend. I hope we win in everything.
Yes.
But you also have to be hungry for, like, how do I help these kids more? How do I develop a better program? I think you have to be humble, because one of my favorite people who's been in the Next Gen Academy has been there for 8 years. And she was there. Cindy, you got to meet her this weekend, from Heart of Texas Cheer.
Uh-huh.
She's owned her gym 28 years, and she was in that room learning.
Yes.
I
Yes.
like, she just brings tears to my eyes, because I'm just like, that lady is so cool, and I
Yeah.
want to be her. I want to be her when
Absolutely.
I grow up. And then smart, like, I don't think you have to be a genius to run a cheer gym, but I do think you have to educate yourself enough that you know what you don't know. Like,
Yes.
you recognize what your weaknesses are, and you're actively trying to improve them.
Ah, yeah. That is great advice to anyone listening. Well, like I said, I am so excited to have you as my coach. We have our first call next week, and I just can't wait to learn and grow and see where it takes me. Because I know, again, I learned so much in that one little weekend, and I'm still learning about the academy. I know there's so many resources there that that I haven't even tapped into yet. That I can't wait to learn more about. And yeah, coaches, gym owners, like, don't let business be your blind spot. I mean, if I could, we always ask, go back and what would your advice be to yourself 20 years ago? And 1,000 times a million percent, I would say that I wish I did this sooner. Like, I wish I did. I wish I did this sooner. I wish I invested in the business side of things and learned all of this stuff sooner. I mean, you're never too late to start, and I'm starting, baby. You're
Right.
20, but it can be scary to think about investing in something like this because you're trying, to save on costs everywhere. But the goal of I think what you're doing is always to make that back
Oh, yeah.
times itself,
Mhm.
and that's the value of what you guys do is you give the tools to be able to do that. So I know how busy you are. I know that you're pulled in a million directions in our industry, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to come on today to talk to our listeners. And guys, like I said, I hope you're reading the book. I hope you're listening to her podcast because it's great. And if you loved her today, I promise you'll love her weekly. And make sure you tune into Dan's as well. Gym owners, it's wonderful. Listen on your way to the gym. Listen on your way on the treadmill, while you're working, having it playing in the background. Yeah, there's a lot of great information out there for you. So make sure you utilize it. But thank you so much for being on. I look forward to personally just getting to learn from you. And thank you for what you're doing in the industry because you are making a big difference. So yeah,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, we love it. Awesome.